Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name's Ariana. I am your personal grad school coach. I'm a PhD student myself, and my whole goal is to help you find work-life balance and enjoy your PhD experience. So today's video is going to be an advice video for grad students who are really feeling burnt out, or alternatively, if you're trying to avoid burnout in grad school. So a little bit about what happened to me. If you watch my other vlogs, you know that I was in the middle of doing my PhD proposal, or writing my PhD proposal, and then I just really dropped off the face of the earth. But right after I did my PhD proposal, I completed a NSF program, an NSF program that came with funding that I had really wanted to do. But doing those two things back to back compounded the stress and anxiety that I was feeling to a whole other level. Is all I'm really going to say about that. Okay. I sacrificed a lot to complete those two milestones. You know, I spent the first 2-ish years trying to create systems in grad school that would help me stay sane, that would help me manage my anxiety, because it had gotten super bad when I started grad school, and really just allow me to prioritize myself. But you know, once I was put in those such stressful situations, I threw it all out the window. You know, my morning routine was everything to me. I loved to journal, I meditated, I really had this super calm, beautiful morning where I just enjoyed it and like relaxed, and that went out the window. I would wake up, start writing or start working on the program, work out, which was probably the only good habit that I had, go back to sleep, wake up, do it again. You know, at least I worked out. But the only reason I worked out was because like there was so much like physical tension in my body from being anxious, from being stressed, that if I didn't work out, I couldn't sleep at night. I couldn't really function as a human. I couldn't really be a pleasant human to be around, which I actually learned was kind of like a symptom of anxiety, and I had no idea that like my grouchiness sometimes could be really tied to the fact that I'm feeling anxious. So there was just a lot that I threw out the window, and it was just hard for me to, it was also hard for me to socialize, hard for me to spend time with my loved ones, which I do a lot. It brings me a lot of joy. And it was even just hard for me to socialize with people that I knew in my life in my PhD program. It would be like the biggest shock ever if I showed my face in lab. But I was probably only there because we had a lab meeting or there was some kind of event that I had to show up for, and that would be the only reason I'd leave my apartment. And I wouldn't leave my apartment for like days on end. It was like a self-imposed quarantine, but I was super stressed out. It wasn't healthy. Also wasn't eating very healthy. And you know that emoji that's like always sighing? That's like me. That's my favorite emoji. But it was always me trying to take a deep breath, always me trying to like relieve the tension that I was feeling, you know, emotionally and physically. And by the end of the proposal, by the end of the NSF program, I was really looking at myself like I was almost seeing like a former shell of myself, of like who I used to be. I was really like questioning, who am I? You know, why am I here? What are my goals again? Like what is this? What is this life really? And I was someone who like really loved grad school. I loved coaching. I loved doing all these kinds of things before I did those two like milestones. And I came out of that and I was like, I don't remember what I love anymore. I don't remember what it's like to like feel excited to go to lab anymore. I really felt bitter. I felt jaded. I still kind of feel that way, which is really sad because I think I consider myself to be mostly optimistic. I'm always the one that's helping lift other people up, and I just kind of lost that excitement that I had for my research. And it's really hard to be kind of this independent researcher and get your PhD when you just have no motivation, no interest in it. So that's kind of what happened. I went through two very stressful things basically at the same time, and on top of like that kind of stress, it was also actually time for me to move. It was just a lot of life stress, a lot of PhD stress that I had so much trouble dealing with, so much trouble communicating to others of what I was dealing with, you know, because when you're a first generation student, it's difficult to kind of share that with your family. It's difficult to explain why you feel the way that you do, because it looks like you're not grateful. It looks like you're not appreciating everything in your life, which is probably true to some extent, but I didn't really feel like I could talk to a lot of people about that except maybe my therapist, which I did. So I took a break. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna drop everything. I don't even care anymore. I just want to leave. So I visited my family. I took like 2.5 weeks off to visit family that I haven't seen since 2020. And it was great. It was relaxing, and you know, I just kind of like cocooned. But I wanted to make a video and kind of explain, like, if any of this sounds like kind of what you're going through, if it sounds familiar, I want you to kind of recognize that, because while I was going through that process, I didn't recognize what was going on. I thought I was just whining. I really did. I thought I was just being a baby. I thought I was not being tough. I thought I was raised stronger than this, and I was like, you know, I'm tougher than this. I can handle it, which I am a tough person. I'm a resilient person, but I feel like every person has their breaking point, and I just reached mine. So if you're listening to the situation and you feel like, kind of sounds like what I'm going through, maybe step back and question, like, is this what burnout is for me? Is this what I'm feeling? By the way, I looked up the official definition of burnout, but Mayo Clinic says job burnout specifically. It's a special type of work-related stress where you have a state of physical or emotional exhaustion that also involves a sense of reduced accomplishment and loss of personal identity. And I didn't even look that up until like after I was done kind of writing up my experience. So I was like, well, if that doesn't say I'm burnt out, I don't know what is. Where I am today, I am trying to find ways to deal with burnout. Just trying to do a few things to help me feel grounded and stable. So I think the reason I'm focusing on those feelings is because when I was going through all the stress I went through, it just really felt so chaotic. Felt like I was floundering, I was drowning, I was just being pushed back and forth. So now I'm really just trying to find something to hold on to, something to keep me sane and just remind me like I'm here, I'm alive, I can take a breath, it's okay. So a lot of these things are things to help me feel grounded. So the very first thing is I'm trying to establish a new routine. You know, how I'm feeling, what I'm grateful for, things I'm working on, you know, all that. It's really just a brain dump of my thoughts. And then I really try to focus on having like a really, really good breakfast, because if I don't eat, I am hangry. And you don't want to be around me when I'm hangry, period. So we journal, we have a good breakfast, I think about what I need to do for the day. I also getting back to the routine of working out like 3-4 times a week. I'm trying to get back into that sort of life routine that help me feel stable, help me feel safe, help me feel grounded. It also really helps with my anxiety. It's not perfect quite yet, but there are some things that work for me. Like I said, I'm also just trying to integrate things that I love into my life, you know. So working out was one of them. I am falling back in love with it again. I love going to the gym. I love wearing my workout clothes and my cute leggings and all of that. I'm all about it. So that's one thing that I love, that I'm spending more time on. And another, And something I'm not doing is taking on extra responsibilities. So if you're anything like me, I think even if you're in a PhD program in general, you are such an overachiever, you don't even understand. So your initial reaction to things is like, yes, 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 sign me up for that. You just like sign away your time, which I have learned, you know, in the first few years of my grad program that that's not a good thing, period. So I'm not doing any extra responsibilities. I told myself my PhD is my priority, research is priority, and getting out of here and graduating is priority. Because I'm a 4th year grad student now, and I feel like I really don't have a lot to show for it. And maybe it's the imposter syndrome, maybe it's the burnout, maybe it's everything. But I really wish I was further along in my research, and I think most of us do. So, you know, trying to hone in on the research is one thing that I want to focus on. Okay, so what I would have done differently, how to prevent the burnout. At least speaking from my experience, this is what I wish I would have done. I would have overestimated the time I needed to complete those milestones, to do that program, period. Because it's like, yes, I can do my proposal and then have a quick turnaround and do the program. No, I couldn't. I mean, clearly, right, because I wouldn't be feeling this way if I could, but I just kind of forgot to account for that human part of me. When you're trying to force something into such a short timeline, I think that's when you kind of compromise on what's super important to you, and that's what I did personally. So overestimate the time you need times 10, maybe times 100, okay? Just to be sure, just to be on the extra safe side, because like no one will get upset if you finish things early, but I feel like people would get upset if you finish things late. Try to give yourself a lot of grace, a lot of wiggle room when you're trying to get stuff done is probably my number one piece of advice if you're trying to avoid burnout in grad school. Whether that's the second thing is to never compromise on what you need specifically. I compromised with myself personally all the time. I compromised on what I ate, when I slept, what I did, who I spent my time with, compromise on a lot of things that just made me feel like, again, a shell of my former self. So just never compromise on what you need to feel human, to fill your soul up, to be the wonderful person that you are. Just don't compromise on that. It's not worth it. No degree, no amount of money is worth it, period. And I would have found daily and weekly time for myself. Time for myself to relax, time for myself to do something fun. Fun in the sense of like, it really lights you up, it fills your soul up, like I said, the things that you need to feel like yourself, whatever your hobbies are, whatever your passions are, whoever you want to spend your time with, I would have found daily, weekly time to do that. That is the end of today's video. I really hope this video brings you value. I hope it helps you reflect on how you're doing in your life, and I hope it gives you some advice on preventing burnout. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. It really helps me out, really motivates me. You're helping a fellow grad student come out of burnout. So yeah, have a great day or night wherever you are.